I don't listen to podcasts, so
I mean, oh no, don't say that. No. You have to be, that will offend people. You have to be plugged in,
What?
man. You have to be like,
No.
yes.
I'm not going to give my business to my competitors. I have to. I only listen to my own podcast.
That's right. That's right. I mean, right now it's just this one, but soon it'll be a podcast empire of my own podcasts. Whatever that thing is on the side of your nose, it's enormous on this screen.
Yeah, it's maskne.
Right. It's matte acne.
It's a pimple. No, it's a pimple from wearing the mask, the face mask.
What? Is that a thing?
It's called maskne. You haven't heard of maskne?
No.
You don't even go out.
I have been wearing a mask now for days.
Well, I've tried not to, but there are places where you still have to. So
yeah, that's true.
I don't have a choice. It's infuriating. I'm kind of like, can we be done with the mask? This day is after Memorial Day, and I want to tell you, for Memorial Day, I went to go hang out with my family-in-law, and we just hung out as if there was no pandemic whatsoever. We hung out. Yeah.
Got to see my wife's grandparents as well, who came over, and her sister and brother-in-law, and it was just lovely. It was just fine to hang out.
Right. Yeah.
Like normal people, like we used to.
Yeah, it's
back when we were kids.
It's weird because for a long time I was frustrated with how many people were not wearing masks.
Yes.
And now I'm frustrated with how many people still are wearing masks when they don't need to be, according to the
Center
experts.
for Disease Control.
Yeah, or whatever. So I'm kind of like, I don't know. Yeah,
I just had a great weekend. It was just lovely. The weather was perfect, and outside was good, and got to hang out with people, got to see them, got to be my extroverted self, which was lovely.
Yeah, I'm working way too much.
Oh yeah?
I'm sick of it. And then there's all this stuff that needs to be done for the wedding. And then on Memorial Day, I spent most of the day, or 6 hours, installing a new garage door opener with my dad. Dad was because our garage door opener stopped working. So
right.
So
that happens.
I don't get a break. Okay.
Hey, you know what's happening this Sunday?
Yeah, it's my bachelor party.
We're going to Six Flags.
Yes, my really like vanilla bachelor party.
That's right. I wanted to let you know I didn't clip on that exclamation.
That's exciting. My signal was clipping in the last episode because of that really, I don't know. I just got really emotional during that ad reading. But anyway,
I don't remember it.
What you heard at the beginning was the Mad Hatters with their song Intro Music, and that's from their album Songs from the Podcast, which sadly this will be the last single from Mad Hatters. Apparently the band is breaking up as of July 2nd, this coming July 2nd. In a recent interview, founding member Matt Glaz said, "Yeah, I haven't told the other Matt yet, but I'm basically ending the podcast permanently." So that's some unfortunate news there.
It is.
Anyway.
It is. I mean,
yeah, it's a good band, So
yeah, exactly. They've got a really good thing going.
Yeah. Oh, well. Yeah. I guess Matt's going solo. That's the reason for it.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, he's really the talented one.
Yeah, I agree. You and I are in agreement there. A lot of the time, there's things that we don't agree about when we talk, but this is something that I'm 100% with you on.
Yeah. What do you want to talk about today?
I don't know. I had a thing the last time to share. I don't have anything to share. We take turns sharing
we
things.
do? Are we supposed to take turns?
I don't know, but I didn't have time to.
No one told me this. Well, here's a thing. I have something to talk about.
Okay.
A short 20-minute mini documentary about Napster and about MP3s, which I'd forgotten about actually.
How could you forget? Anyway, yeah. So this was where was this on? Where did you watch this?
This was on the YouTubes,
Okay.
and it's from a channel called Bandsplaining, which usually doesn't talk about this sort of thing, but they had a special episode, and it was referred to me probably from the lovely blog Boing Boing. And anyway, it was it's a fine documentary. It's worth your time. It's only 20 minutes, not so bad, and it talks about for all the new kids about what Napster was, about what was the big deal about music in the 2000s.
Yeah.
And in summary, it was a time when you could, if you wanted some music, you could just go get it for
Right.
$0 illegally, trivially. That's still true today, but it was even more trivial then.
Right.
There was a whole company built up around doing this illegal thing, and it was a lovely time. And if you were in college at this time, which I was, then even just everyone at college was sharing all of their music illegally, and it was trivial to be able to find whatever you wanted online.
When did the whole
way.
Napster court case happen? I thought it was before we were in college a little bit, or maybe
Yeah, it was like 2001, so
Yeah.
it's like right at that threshold or whatever. But it was a big deal, and then the peer-to-peer networks, the Kazas, the Nutellas, appeared, and then they took over. I remember my wife at Luther College, where she went, there had a Lofi, which was like their own version of Nutella that only worked internally into their own, only in the college network. It was lovely.
Yeah.
But anyway, it was a wonderful time. And then the Recording Industry Association of America decided to sue individual people for fantastic sums of money for infringing on this. They would sue somebody for $2 million or something for infringing on downloading 50 songs or something. And the intent was to have this have a chilling effect on people downloading music, that it would slow the downloads of music. But that didn't happen. And what instead happened was those people just declared bankruptcy, and then there was nothing that they could do. Or I don't even know if they declared bankruptcy. They just realized that they could, and declaring bankruptcy would get them basically off the hook for this particular civil penalty. And as a result, they wouldn't have to pay it. And then they were like, well, why wouldn't I? And so all of the lawsuits just fizzled out.
Mm.
No money was exchanged hands, and they spent a lot of money trying to sue people, and it was totally ineffective. It was a fantastic documentary. I would recommend it. It was called "The People Who Were Sued for Downloading Music, Whatever Happened," and it was excellent. Did you ever participate in any of that?
Well, I did. Yes, I've downloaded music. Oh shit, I shouldn't have said that. But at that time though, I totally missed the whole thing. I was still like, my brother's like, here's a CD I burned for you, and I was like, thanks, brother. And that was like, it wasn't until like after this whole thing had blown up. It was like, later on I started like downloading a few things. But I've never been big on downloading music anyway. I mean,
you're quite the music connoisseur. You listen to much more music than I do.
But I'm really not. I don't feel like I am. I'm not. I don't.
Well, I only listen to video game music.
Yeah,
which is very narrow.
More so than you, but still not as much as a lot of people. There are people. There's people who just listen to like just every new thing, and they like here's this new band. I was like, what? I just listen.
What is
to this.
A new band?
New band. There's no such thing. Everything is just it's a reboot. Of old bands. That's what it is these days. No, but
I suppose.
Yeah, I kind of missed that whole thing. I mean, I was aware of it because it was, Metallica is I know all about Metallica, and I follow everything about Metallica. So that was, they got a lot of hatred from fans because they led along with a couple other artists. I think wasn't Madonna one of them or something. And
Probably Gene Simmons.
I don't know. There were a couple artists that led this sort of crusade against Napster, basically, and it happened with Metallica. It was their I Disappear, their song off of the Mission Impossible 2 soundtrack. I think that was it. They heard it on the radio before it was released, and they were like, what's going on? And then they learned about all the stuff, and they were like, this is an outrage. And I don't know. But it's funny. I was just reading about Nintendo and how they're suing someone right now for like $2.1 million who's been running a ROM downloading website. Yeah, ROM downloading site, which ROMs are basically like emulations of Nintendo games or other video games for the computer. You can play on your computer. There's like special programs that can run these sort of bootleg games. And apparently he was actually charging subscriptions for his site. And I think that maybe if he were doing it for free, they wouldn't have cared as much, I'm guessing, because that happens, and they haven't cracked down on other people that have done that, but maybe it's because he was charging subscriptions and making money off of it, and they were like... So he's probably going to file for bankruptcy, and they'll get no money, so like you said.
Yeah, it's just a weird... It's a weird strategy. But I think there's this other thing where certain companies are legally required to go after their intellectual property in order to defend it from people who are trying to, pretend it's theirs, because otherwise they lose their copyright or they lose their trademark or whatever. And
they have a responsibility to the shareholders.
Right. Right. But Nintendo makes a lot of money. They make a lot of money. Yeah. So maybe they don't need to be so stingy. I don't know.
Don't
sue me, Nintendo. Please don't sue me.
I know. I'm of the sort of rebel side of things here, but I guess with Nintendo, they make the claim we have to constantly, feverishly compete against the other consoles because we are always in danger of failure. Because
which is sort of true, I suppose.
The whole thing is moving so fast. I mean, they gotta, but they might be making bank for a few years, and then they come up with the Wii U, and they fail miserably.
Screw it up.
But anyway,
screw it up.
Yeah. Well, that was that's maybe I'll check out this documentary.
I doubt you will.
After the wedding, when I have time. I don't even have time to talk to you. I don't know why I'm wasting. Listen, we got to get to the Mad Hat because I was late getting my stuff together here. My camera's not working. I'm so upset about it. Anyway, first, this podcast was brought to you by A Lesson in Some Manners. Are you mouthing off to me? Do you think you're some kind of big shot who can go around talking to me however you want? Sounds like you need a lesson in some manners. A Lesson in Some Manners is a comprehensive, tried-and-true teaching method with a proven track record of getting you to show some goddamn respect. With a decades-long reputation in providing state-of-the-art education and a world-class network of over 40,000 alumni who have gone on to knowing how to keep their fucking mouths shut, A Lesson in Some Manners is the industry-leading choice for prospective students eager to get ahead in the field of never, ever interfering with the family business. With A Lesson in Some Manners, you'll develop key skills you'll need to be successful upon graduation, including knowing who the fuck you're talking to, telling us what you know about what the Salerno brothers are planning, and keeping quiet about what you've seen here today. A Lesson in Some Manners specializes in accelerated learning. Our concentrated, cutting-edge curriculum and world-renowned faculty provide our students with an unrivaled, intensive, hands-on training experience for ultra-fast results. You'll learn one-on-one with Vincenzo here, and if you start to fall behind and need a little extra help, Lucio will be happy to step in with his assistant, Mr. 2x4. With A Lesson in Some Manners, you'll have access to our extensive faculty of professionals who are always available to monitor your progress and to put you back on track when you slip up. Our staff is fully invested in the success of our students, no matter how hard they may be struggling, and our 100% graduation rate is proof of our commitment. I thought my little nephew, Paulie, was never going to stop trash-talking the family to his little fairy friends down in art school, but after I had the boys go to work on him for a couple hours to perform a little surgery on his trachea, Paulie don't say nothing no more. And if you find even after you graduate that you still can't take a hint and get what we're trying to tell you through your thick skull, well, there's an answer to that too. As part of our post-graduation support program, Taviano here will take you on a little ride around town to help you maybe clear your head and think a few things through. So what are you waiting for? Apply for A Lesson in Some Manners today and start on your path toward a fulfilling career in watching your fucking mouth. Our financial aid options give you the freedom to follow your dreams today without worrying about tomorrow. Our exciting new payment plan involves Lorenzo visiting you at home and at work every single day to remind you of the money you owe. And if you don't pay up by the end of the week, maybe Mr. Switchblade here will take a souvenir or two from your pretty face as collateral for the beauty school your Uncle Francesco paid for. Then you won't look so pretty no more. A Lesson in Some Manners. You gonna do what I tells you? Huh? Huh? A Lesson in Some Manners is not responsible for any illegal or criminal activity. A Lesson in Some Manners is a family fishing business started by Don Guido Sorrentino in 1919 and inherited by subsequent generations of the Sorrentino family. A Lesson in Some Manners follows all applicable government laws and regulations in regard to any and all family business operations. If you have any questions or concerns regarding A Lesson in Some Manners or the Sorrentino family, we plead the fifth.
Finally, something super... I love that we got that as a sponsor.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that seems so useful for you in particular.
What?
Yeah, you should totally sign up. A Lesson in Some Manners.
Yeah. That's I mean, it was kind of meant as a joke, but okay.
What's that sound?
Oh, what is it? What is it, boy?
What is it? What's the sound? I don't know.
Come here, boy.
What is it?
Hey, you want to draw from the Mad Hat? You want to draw from the Mad Hat? Yes. You want to draw from the Mad Hat?
I want to. Yes,
that's
please.
Right, you little baby. You want to draw from the Mad Hat? Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. All right. Now roll over.
Okay.
Okay. Good. All right. Now play dead. All right. Okay. Now stay. All right. Good boy.
Okay. Yeah. Is it time?
Yeah. Ooh. Here's the topic. Talk about a time you got in trouble at school.
I have gotten into trouble at school 4 times.
I mean, the fact that you can even count it on one hand means that you're
I mean,
not
like big trouble. Like
bad boy.
Biggish trouble. I'm not a bad boy, but I've only gotten to trouble in school about 4 times.
Okay.
Yes.
I mean, yeah.
But you know my favorite one. Because you were there.
Was that the one with our German teacher?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, tell that one.
Okay. A long time ago, on a planet far, far away, I took German class, and I took that German class with one Mateusz Glatz. And we were goof-offs in the class. And
because of me, let's be honest.
Matt was a goof-off in the class, and I loved it. And I encouraged him on it every opportunity. And our German teacher was actually surprisingly cool with it generally, and thought that Matt in particular was very funny, and thought that we were sort of adorable in kind of a way, in a way. And this was all fine and dandy until one day she was out for some reason, doing something important at some training or whatever. And there was a substitute, and Matt did his usual goof off thing. And I laughed at him, and I encouraged him on as I would do. And the teacher wrote us both up so that the next day.
This was a substitute teacher?
This is a substitute teacher. And so then the next day, our normal German teacher comes back, and she was furious that we had acted so badly for the sub, that we had, been goofing off or something. I'm sure that must feel embarrassing as a teacher. Anyway, and so
right.
So she gave us both detentions.
Yeah.
serious detentions, like real detentions.
It's funny because I don't even remember this. I don't even remember this substitute teacher or that day or what we were doing, and I don't remember the detention. I don't remember going to the detention or what.
We definitely went to the. And then at the end of the class, I stayed behind because I'm a goody two-shoes, and I wanted to explain to the teacher how wrong she was that she wrote me up, because obviously only Matt Glass was the one who was goofing off. And I'd explained this to her, but she wouldn't listen. And that made me angry because I was right. And she wouldn't listen to me. And so I walked out of the room and I was explaining to you or something. And I'm like, she's really acting like an asshole or something.
Yeah. I think you just walked away and said the word asshole.
Maybe.
I do remember that moment. That was the only thing I remember.
And I went on to my next class, which was band. Yeah. And of course, by band, I mean we were also doing orchestra at the same time because of the way the school worked. It was weird. And so I was doing band. I was waiting outside of the orchestra room, waiting to go in for orchestra. And my German teacher...
We did band with the orchestra?
You never did, because you play a saxophone, and there's no saxophones in the orchestra.
Right.
Just like no dogs play basketball. Same, it's in the rule book. So, anyway, so I was waiting outside for orchestra, and then my German teacher comes storming down the hallway, the long hallway leading to that area, and she says, she's furious, and she comes to me and says, do you know what that kind of language makes me so angry. It's blah, blah, blah. I'm so angry with you, and I've talked to the dean or whatever, and you have to go. You're in trouble or something. And I was like, oh no. And I didn't, as Matt has pointed out, I'm a really goody two-shoes, and this was very surprising and bad to me because, again, I was right. It must be established again and repeatedly that I was right about the whole thing. She was being unreasonable. Anyway, so then I preemptively went to the dean and I said, listen, I got in trouble. Listen, I called my German teacher an asshole because she's being an asshole. And the dean was like, oh, it was Miss Malik, I think. She was like, oh, she's like, oh, sometimes that happens. People just get a little angry and that little thing on the side of the mouth like asshole. And I was like, no, it was very clear. She was acting like an asshole because she wasn't listening to me, and she was wrong and I was right. And you understand where I'm coming from. And the dean, and she was like, and I don't think she knew what to do with this because I was really a good kid in many ways, and she's not used to seeing me in her room, and so then I went off through my class, and then at some point I was summoned to the dean, and our German teacher was there, and I was like, oh no, and but at that point, like the German teacher had simmered down, she had chilled out, she had recognized her wrongness, and sort of, and I felt a little cooler as well, and we sat down, and the principal, the dean was like, okay. We've talked it out. We've decided only to give you a Saturday detention for this. And I was like, oh, I'm like, that's worse. But she's like, well, normally it would be like 3 Saturday detentions. And Saturday detentions at our high school were like 4-hour, come in on a Saturday, sit in a room, do nothing, boring worksheets, waste of time, sorts of things. 8 hours, I don't remember what it was. It was no fun. And I apologized to the German teacher. German teacher apologized back to me. It was sort of a nice. And then, I left that day thinking, well, I've really screwed up. Like I've made it much worse.
Weird. That's really weird that your German teacher, that she apologized to you, but you still got detention. So then the next day, there was nothing mentioned of this. And then from then on, there was no mention of it. She didn't file any of the please go do a Saturday detention paperwork. So you didn't actually serve the detention? So I didn't actually serve the detention. What? That's even weirder.
I still had to serve the detention with you. The after school normal detention, which was just a joke. That whole thing was hilarious.
I don't remember that one, and I think there was one time I had to go to detention for some reason in junior high, and I don't remember what it was for.
Oh yeah,
I think I've had 3 detentions in my whole life. The first one was in grade school, which was after. It was in the lunchroom, and I was sitting, and there was this kid named Eric, and Eric. I wasn't really friends with him, but I guess I was sitting at the lunch table with him, whatever. We were just, And we were like, I don't know, it turned into like a thing where we were like joking around and goofing off. And at one point I was goofing off, and I don't remember what the joke was of this.
Wait, I was supposed to say, you goofing off?
Yeah, so it was probably all me, but I remember it being like this thing where we were goofing off, and then I was pretending. I said, "Oh, I'm going to eat your cookie." You know, we all got the little school lunches that came, and they had the cookie, and I was like, "I'm going to eat your cookie." And I was
wait, that's totally justified. You deserved detention just for saying that.
Well,
how dare you?
But it was a joke, and then I started pretending like I was going to eat his cookie. I was like, opening my mouth, and like moving towards his cookie, and I got very close to his cookie, and I guess he got really mad. He's like, and then he said, "Well, you touched it now, so eat it." And I was like, I didn't touch it. And he's like, yeah, I was like, no, I came close to it. You know, it was this argument like that. He's like, you touched it. No, you touched it with your teeth for a moment. And I was like, no, I didn't. He's like, just eat it. I don't care. And I was like, okay, fine. And then I ate his cookie.
Uh-oh.
And then after I had completely eaten his cookie, he turns to me and he says, Matt, I could tell. And I was like, well, that's not fair. And then I looked at him with terror. There was like a moment.
You were also wronged.
Yeah, there was like a beat. There was like a moment where he's like, Matt, I could tell. And he looked at me. Like, I imagine the shot changing between him and me, the reaction shots, he's staring at me and I'm staring at him in terror. And then he just quickly turns and raises his hand and says, Mr. LaFrancis, because Mr. LaFrancis was the gym teacher who had cafeteria duty at that day. Oh. And he came over and he's like, what's wrong? And Eric's like, Matt ate my cookie. And Mr. LaFrancis turns to me and he says, is this true? And I felt so guilty at that point. And I was so honest, that I said, yes, Mr. LaFrancis, it's true. I did consume his cookie. And he says, okay, come with me.
You may do with me what you deem worthy in your ever eternal wisdom and judgment.
I am prepared to be punished for my actions. And so he led me over to the detention table, which was horrifying to me because this was the detention table.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I had never been there. And lo and behold, there was a table which was exactly identical to all the other cafeteria lunchroom tables.
Yes.
Except it was at the end of the room, and the only people there were Mr. LaFrancis and several other students. I guess it was a big day. And these punk kids that he had to,
Yeah.
And so I sat there, and I think this was the time, unless there was another time I'm mixing up in grade school where I had detention for another reason, I don't know. But he had me, he gave me a piece of notebook paper, and he had me sit there and write, 50 times or whatever, I will not eat another child's cookie or something. I mean, he didn't. I don't think he told me what to write. He said, write what you've learned or something, or write what you. And I was like, what's the lesson? I guess I won't eat other people's cookies. And so I literally just wrote that. I will not eat other students' cookies. And I wrote that.
I will literally not eat other people's cookies.
and I was writing that out, and then I looked over because there were a couple of regulars at the table. Okay. And there was
they had the tattoos. And you could tell they had the detention table tattoos.
The fourth grade tattoos, yeah. The tattoo of Garfield or something. But anyway, the Ninja Turtles tattoo.
They had a tear coming from their eye for every single time.
Yeah.
They had tripped another kid carrying the lunch or something.
Yeah, and so I look over because this kid's like, "Hey, dude." I'm like, what? He's like, you're making this harder on yourself. And then he shows me what he's doing. And, if you write a sentence, I will not eat other people's cookies, and you write it 50 times, the letter I will be the first letter of the sentence, a capital I, right? That has a vertical line with the top line and the bottom line.
Yeah.
So he just drew a single vertical line straight down the page and then divided it up with the little horizontal lines to make all the eyes. And I was like, oh, This kid
that
knows what he's
appeals to
doing.
my sense of efficiency.
This kid's been around the block. I was probably so
worldly.
I was probably too afraid to cheat that way. I was probably
man.
I probably just did it the same way I'd been doing it. I'm like, I don't want to get in further trouble,
It's so great.
Because I was afraid. I was like, if I do that, the teacher's gonna be, or the guy's gonna be like, you gotta do it over.
That's right.
But I don't know. Maybe this other kid got away with it.
Wow.
So that was the first time I really got in trouble.
Great story.
But I regularly, it's funny, the whole thing where you said I went to the teacher after class to try to level with her.
Yes.
That was a regular experience for me in high school. I was constantly, I didn't go to detention, but I was constantly pushing the limits of the class clown thing, or kind of testing the waters. And there were certain teachers that were not tolerant of it, and they would constantly, or they'd be tolerant of it, but then they'd sometimes I'd cross the line or something, and they'd be like, "You're being disruptive," and then they'd talk to me after class, and I would just stand there for an hour after class, after school, if it was last period or something, and I'd just argue with them. And they'd be like, "No, you were being blah blah blah," and I was like, "No, but I was just doing this," and I was, and it was just I would never.
You also were right. I can see this. This is something we share.
I must have been so obnoxious. It's.
I can tell you as someone with children that your children do remind you of all the obnoxiousness you ever were.
Yeah, I mean,
every day, right in your face.
Right.
Yep, I was that obnoxious once, literally.
We were all that obnoxious once, and if we're lucky, we're not quite as obnoxious now anymore. That
Hopefully.
is how.
Well, listeners, it's up to you to judge. Join us again next time at Mad Hatters. MATT.
Yeah, which one of us is obnoxious? Which of the two Matts is obnoxious? A, Matt. B, Matt. Or C, all of the above.
Both Matts.
Or I suppose
Matts.
D is none of the above.
None of the above. Yeah, I suppose. But no, I think that in reality,
we should give them that option.
Send us your pop quiz answers to go to our website, matthetters.com, matthatters.com. Click on the link. Send us an email. Add some topics to the Mad Hat. Please also send us your pop quiz answers. It's worth 5 points.
5
Of course,
points.
as you know, grades will be out next week. And don't forget that your essay is ready, or needs to be the first draft needs to be turned in tomorrow.
And this is their essay on the reconstruction.
Reconstruction era politics of the Deep South, 1865 to
1890 or something.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, yeah, yeah. So that's it. But I was thinking that'd be the best story is the one that. But
it is the best story.
The best story is the one that got me suspended.
Yes. We can't tell that story now. First of all, we already told that story. We told to a booth.
We did tell it to a booth, and the booth was very offended.
Maybe we can have it be a special episode.
The booth was very offended. Yeah. Maybe we can do a special episode, and maybe, yeah. But it's just too long a story. It's very. You have to understand all of the.
Let's do it as a filler episode. 1 week when we can't do a real episode, we'll put that one out instead with a little bookend, and call people back to however many years ago that was when we recorded that. Story.
I'm preparing a greatest hits episode that'll be just a clip show, of the great.
That's great. And it's
Mad Hatter's season 1 highlights. They
do that though. They do that on the podcast, and then it just has awkward. It has 10 minutes of recorded filler that are transitioning. That was great. Remember that time we talked about autonomous shoes? That was really funny. Let's hear a clip from that now. And then we record 10 of those.
They used to do that in the 90s and the 80s on TV shows when they're like, oh shit, we don't have a I mean,
Wow,
that's so,
content.
and those are so lame. You're like, why air anything? Why don't I just air a rerun at this point? I mean, every time I saw one of those, I was like, oh, come on.
Just a test pattern.
I'm like, are you? Yeah, exactly. just the little the lines and the long for a half an hour. Just do that. Thanks for listening, everyone. You know, check us out at madhatters.com.
MATTHATTERS
Dot
C O
M.
That's right.
Well, but now they're gonna think it's CCOOMM, like we were trading. No.
MATTHETTERS. No wait, ERS.
Shut up.
ERS.com.
Done.
.com.
Yeah, and send us an email with suggestions for topics.
Your thoughts, your reactions to this episode.
Which one of us is the more annoying? And to send you off, here's from their latest album, Back from the Dentist. This is the band Novocaine with Vavy, There's Something in Your Eyes.
You should if you think it's lame, you could add random sound effects.
That's
and
true.
Things to kind of spice it up a little bit. Like maybe a laugh track. Just let people know when it's okay to laugh. In case it isn't obvious.
Well, but I don't want to have to pay for stock audio, stock sound, so I'll just record myself laughing like 200 times.
That's right. It'll be basically the same thing.
In different voices, you know, like, ho, 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 ho.
And there's always that person at the end who's like, ha, ha.